Hi guys, and welcome to the very first video on this channel. This is also the first episode in a new series called EU AI Act Explained, where we will break down the European Union's Act into practical, understandable language for organizations, engineers, managers, compliance teams, and anyone trying to understand what this regulation actually means in practice. But before we begin, let me quickly explain why you might want to listen to us. This episode is brought to you by Explore AI. Our team includes researchers who actively publish papers and practical analysis on the EU AI and AI governance. We participate at AI conferences and create compliance trainings for automotive, education, critical infrastructure, and other domains. At the same time, we have experienced engineers who understand the technical realities of building, deploying, testing and operating real AI systems. That combination matters because AI compliance is not only a legal problem, but it's also a technical one. As a disclaimer, this video is for information purposes only. But if your organization or team needs legal help like getting accreditation or compliance check for AI systems, Explore AI might help you with that. Also, we are running a campaign until the end of this summer. If you mention this video or promo code ComplianceSummer26 on contacting us, you'll receive a 10% discount on the services we provide. With this said, let's get back to the video. A good start might be to try to get a feeling of the current adoption of the AI systems for Europe at the time of Q1 2026. And as we see on this chart, European countries have one of the largest adoption for the AI systems compared to all the other countries on the globe. And when looking at a chart with high potential for automation, we see industries like insurance, energy, health domains, which most likely will be very much impacted by the EU AI Act, simply because by deploying an AI system within these domains will most likely trigger the High Risk AI System Act, which means that the AI systems will need to comply with a lot of requirements, but we will discuss about these requirements later in this series. Despite the fact that Europe has relatively high adoption of AI, and after talking with a lot of organizations and companies in the region, we came to the conclusion that there is a big problem in all the industries. Many organizations do not actually know where AI is being used and what risk category these systems fall into, or what obligations they have under the EU AI Act. So this act is not only for big tech. The European Commission tries to position the EU AI Act as a means for the EU to regulate artificial intelligence to ensure better conditions for development and use of the innovative technology. AI can create many benefits such as better healthcare, safer and cleaner transport, more efficient manufacturing, cheaper and more sustainable energy. So it is a practical governance challenge for many organizations that develops, buys or deploys AI system in Europe. So what does it mean to be compliant under the EU AI Act? Let's look at the definition provided by the AI Act itself. They say that AI systems means a machine-based system that is designed to operate with varying levels of autonomy and that may exhibit adaptiveness after deployment, and that for explicit or implicit objectives infers from the input it receives how to generate outputs such as predictions, content recommendations, or decisions that can influence physical or virtual environments. So after looking at this definition, the EU Act does not regulate everything that has AI powered in the marketing description. That phrase appears everywhere now, like AI powered dashboards, AI workflows, AI powered assistant, AI powered coffee machines, but the law is more specific. In simple terms, the AI Act is interested in systems that use machine-based techniques to infer from inputs and produce outputs, such as predictions, recommendations, classifications, and so on. So the question is not, does the vendor call it AI? For each potential AI project, the question is, what does the system actually do? Does it make predictions? Does it rank people? Does it classify cases, recommend actions, generate content, influence decisions that affect people's rights, safety, or access to services? A spreadsheet macro is probably not what AI system is worried about. A simple rule-based workflow may also fall outside the core AI Act definitions, but a system that ranks job candidates, detects fraud, evaluates creditworthiness, or flag people for future investigation may very much be in this scope. The EU Act is built around one simple idea. Not all AI is equally risky. A spam filter is not the same as AI system used to decide who gets access to welfare benefits. A video game AI is not the same as medical diagnosis system. A chatbot on a website is not the same as the AI system used by law enforcement. So the EU AI Act uses a risk-based structure from unacceptable to high risk, limited risk, and minimal risk systems. So starting with the first category, these are the AI systems considered a clear threat to the safety, livelihoods, and rights of people. And obviously, this type of system are banned. The AI Act prohibits 8 practices, and these prohibitions became effective in February 2025. This category is called high risk. These are the AI use cases that can pose serious risk to health, safety, and fundamental rights. For example, some high-risk AI use cases might include AI safety components in critical infrastructure, AI solutions used in education institutions, and more. And these high-risk AI systems are subject to strict obligations before they can be put on the market, like adequate risk assessment and mitigation systems, high-quality datasets of tuning the system to minimize risk of discriminatory outcomes, logging of activity to ensure traceability of results, detailed documentation providing all information necessary on the system and its purpose for authorities to assess its compliance, a clear and adequate information of the deployer, appropriate human oversight measures, and a high level of robustness, cybersecurity, and accuracy. The next category is called minimal or no risk. So for this type of AI systems, the EU Act does not introduce any rules. The vast majority of the AI systems currently used in Europe fall into this category. This includes applications such as AI-embedded video games or spam filters. And once an AI system is on the market, authorities are in charge of market surveillance, deployers ensure human oversight and monitoring, and providers have a post-market monitoring systems in place. Providers and deployers will also report serious incidents and malfunctioning. So when doing a compliance check for the AI systems, the risk classification is step 0. Based on the category the AI system falls, the requirements are different. For example, the requirements that must be met by providers of the high-risk AI systems are strict. These requirements include, in particular, the need to document every stage in the development of the AI system, to meet obligations regarding the use of high-quality data for training, to produce system documentation that provides users with full information about the nature and purpose of the system, and to ensure the accuracy, robustness, and cybersecurity for the systems. High-risk AI systems will also have to be registered in the EU database, which will be publicly available. And as we saw, AI Act imposes obligations on all participants in the supply chain of the high-risk AI systems through its life cycle. The responsibilities are not only those of the provider, but also those of any importer, distributor, and deployer of the AI systems. Although most of the responsibilities lie with the provider and deployer. The primary duty of the importer and distributor is to verify that the high-risk AI system being imported or distributed meets the requirements of the EU Act. Moreover, an importer and distributor or deployer may become a provider of high-risk AI system if they have put their name or trademark on AI systems, made substantial modifications, or they have modified the intended purpose of the AI system, which render the system high risk. And depending on the high-risk AI systems, there can still be more requirements that need to be met. And these requirements are somewhere clearly and somewhere not that clearly defined in the UI Act. And now let's try to go through some examples to try to understand whether we have some intuition regarding the UI Act. And for that, we will go through some examples to see if we can label correctly the AI system. And a first example is the CV screening system. If a company uses AI to rank job applicants, it is not just a productivity tool. It may affect access to employment. It means that it can fall into high-risk category. The organization would need to think about human oversight, bias monitoring, logging, candidate transparency, and vendor documentation. For the second example, we have AI detection in critical infrastructure. Imagine an AI system that identifies welding defects in safety critical parts of water supply infrastructure. Because the system is connected to safety and critical infrastructure, it may fall again into high-risk area. Here focus becomes more on reliability, performance monitoring, human review, override the procedures, and technical documentation. And the third example that I propose is a smart scheduling tool. If the AI tool is just applying fixed rules like assign meeting rooms based on the availability, then it may not be an AI system, first of all, in the meaning of the regulatory sense. So this is why classification must be based on function, not on branding. So the AI label doesn't make the system to be AI in the first case. Another common reaction in the industry that we saw is that the AI Act is still rolling out, so we can deal with it later. And we are talking about the high-risk AI systems in particular. At our company, we think that it's kind of dangerous mindset, and here I'll leave some argumentations for that. We know that the original plan was to deploy the requirements for the high-risk AI systems on August 2026. However, for many standalone high-risk AI systems, this was delayed for December 2027. And for high-risk AI embedded in this deadline was shifted to August 2028. And although the timeline for high-risk AI obligations has been adjusted through the AI Omnibus process, this should not be interpreted as a reason to wait. Why? Because the compliance is not something that you switch in 1 week before the deadline. To comply properly, organizations need time to identify AI systems, classify risk, collect vendor information, documentation, define human oversight processes, establish logging and monitoring, train staff, and decide who is responsible for what. And if your organization uses third-party AI tools, that does not automatically remove your responsibility. Buying an AI tool is not the same as outsourcing compliance. So here is the real message. Do not wait until enforcement arrives. use extra time to build a proper AI governance foundation. And one simple step might be to create an AI system inventory for your company. Do not begin with 200-page compliance framework. Do not try to classify every system perfectly in one day. Start by listing what AI tools are used, which department uses them, what is the purpose, is the tool built internally or brought from a vendor, does it affect people, safety, access to services, or important decisions, does it produce predictions, recommendations, classification decisions, or generated content. So this first step gives you visibility, and the visibility is a foundation for compliance because you cannot govern what you do not know that exists. With that said, I would like to thank you for watching until the end, and I would like to encourage you to leave a thumbs up for this video, simply because this type of content is kind of scarce in the space right now. Very few companies are talking about AI compliance under the UI Act, and we're trying our best to try to educate everyone so that your company, your team has a compliant AI system, and it will not get a huge fine in future by breaking this law. And with that said, thanks for watching, and I'll see you again in the new video of the UI Explained series. Bye.